Hello, everyone. This is Chase Bounds. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the world. And happy Sunday. I wanted to mention a little bit more about the Kitty Genvoese case that I forgot to mention last week. I also forgot to mention 10 years prior to the Kitty Genvoese murder, but not the 10 years in 1955, you had the infamous murder of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy who was from Chicago, traveled down to Mississippi, and was unfortunately brutally murdered by two whites after false allegations of a white woman of him whistling the white woman. But of course it's been false that he whistled at this white woman, and the white woman in recent years came out and said that he didn't whistle at this whistle or do anything to her. But this is just an example about how this scenario, just over false allegations that white woman was harmed, resulted in the murder or killing, while here's an actual incident of a black man killing a white woman. And interestingly, none of the white people didn't react violently, and that's a good thing. It's fortunately good that it didn't happen, but just interesting with other patterns I see in racial incidents that occurred previously, and of how there's a case of a white woman being killed. No one was, again, and there was no instance of violence. But and also another thing I wanted to add in the documentary was that they did reference turbulent events in the events of that era, but interesting, they didn't mention, such as they did mention the assassination of John F. Kennedy and all the protests of Vietnam, but they didn't mention none of the civil rights struggle of the Black American struggle of civil rights. They didn't mention anything about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or anything like that. Which I also again find interesting that it left out those crucial events of that decade, that defined that decade. And I think another thing I wanted to mention about the case was based on the articles I read prior to watching this documentary. I think supposedly it was at this incident this had an effect on later reporting incidents of killings, muggings, and any, I guess, confrontations, assault. And supposedly it may have been reason why today you're having so much of this phenomenon with relating to the lingering effect on why white women are now scared is always quick to call the police on black people, which is known as the Karens. It was something that was I guess a social media phenomenon. I wouldn't say phenomenon, just something that occurred during the pandemic, where it's particularly after that Central Park, that lady that called the police on the lady in Central Park that called the police on. It was the lady. Well, she was walking her dog in Central Park, and the black man was telling her about her dog leash, and she, I guess, panicked or reacted and said African American was threatening my life, and that made its way all through social media and other similar incidents like that. And it was known as, and this became the stereotype with white women known as Karens, who were quick to call the police on people who complain, or quick to call and complain. And supposedly it was supposedly based on the article that it's partly because people were now felt urgent about calling the police after Kitty Genvoese after people did not respond, supposedly. I think that's the connection I had with this art, reading this article. This is another video by Chase Pounds. Stay tuned for my next video.